r/NoSleep. Posted by u/RobertMort. My girlfriend went hiking. Her texts don't sound like her and I think something is terribly wrong. Final. Sorry I didn't post last night. So much has happened, and I'm still trying to process everything. I guess I'll start at the beginning. Thea never returned home on Saturday night. A lot of you told me to go look for her myself. So that's what I did. After I called the police, I headed over to the trail alone. Well, not entirely alone. I brought our little dog, Giselle, thinking she might be able to pick up a scent or something. But as soon as I pulled into the parking lot, my heart dropped. There was her car, her beat-up Honda Civic, parked crookedly under a street lamp. Thea's still here. But she wouldn't do that. Not voluntarily. It was already pretty dark out, and we have a lot of coyotes in the area. She wouldn't be stupid enough to keep hiking past dark. Would she? I tried the door to her car, locked. Shined my phone's flashlight in the windows. She wasn't in there. Nothing looked out of place, though it was hard to tell with how messy Thea's car always is. The dread in the pit of my stomach grew. I grabbed Giselle and headed towards the trail. As soon as we stepped into the woods, it was even darker. What little light was left in the sky was choked out by the thick foliage. I took a second to glance at the sign, to figure out which way the waterfall was. Then I continued into the forest. "Thea?" I called. "Thea?" No response. I looked at Giselle. She didn't seem to be picking up anything. I tried to call Thea again. She didn't answer. All I had was that last text, staring me in the face. "Thea, I'm going to be home late. Sorry. I love you less than 3. As a last-ditch attempt, I sent a text back. 8:23 p.m. Me, how late? Where are you? I've been calling you. I watched as the indicator went from sent to delivered. And then to read. My blood ran cold. My fingers flew over the keys, starting to type. Where are you? Please call me. But then I stopped. If it really wasn't Thea writing those texts, if it was someone who had her, maybe that wasn't the smartest thing. I stood there in the middle of the woods, my heart pounding, as Giselle whimpered at my feet. And then I typed. Me, that's fine if you want to stay out late, but I'm going to bed. I love you. Good night. 3 little dots appeared in response. And then it popped up. Thea, no you're not. I stared at those 3 words, my head swimming. Huh? What does that mean? Giselle pawed the ground a few feet away. And then another text came in. Thea, you're out here looking for me. I hear you calling my name. Why don't you come a little closer? Smile. I grabbed Giselle, and broke into a run. Over the thick roots and large stones. The terrain sloped up, then down. Out of breath, I stopped, shining the flashlight in a circle around myself. Thea. I screamed, straining my ears for something, anything that might sound like her. A rustle, a footstep, a sound. Anything. But there was nothing. I pulled out my phone and sent another text. Me, where is Thea? And then, finally, I did hear a sound. Pop-popping. That strange little tone. The one I'd heard all over the house for the past 2 years. Whenever Thea got a text or an email. It was Thea's phone. Right out there, somewhere, in the darkness. I blindly ran towards the sound. But as soon as I stepped off the trail, the terrain changed. A deep slope, a carpet of dry leaves. I hadn't gone 10 steps when I stepped on the uneven surface of a jagged rock. My ankle buckled, I lost my balance, I careened into the darkness. Thud. Then a rustling sound off to my left. The snap of a branch. I pulled myself up as fast as I possibly could. Pain shot up my ankle, but I continued blindly forward, waving my phone every which way. White light flashed across gnarled trunks, yellowed leaves. Giselle barked at me from the trail. But I didn't see anything. I sent Thea another text. Me, tell me. And then I listened. But there was no pop-popping. No footsteps, no rustling. Nothing. Just silence, punctuated by Giselle's barks. The police arrived soon after that. I told them everything. I showed them the texts, showed them where I'd heard Thea's cell phone. They didn't find her, but they did find something in the parking lot that I'd missed. A turquoise earring. I didn't sleep on Saturday night. I drove around town for hours, looking for anything suspicious, asking late-night partygoers if they'd seen anything. I called the police repeatedly, checking in on their search. Nothing. And then, when the sun broke over the treetops, my phone pinged. To my surprise, it was Thea. 6:42 a.m. Thea, I'll see you soon smile. Thea, image loading. A selfie popped up. But this one wasn't like the others. The photo was dark and grainy. The forest was all grays and shadows, maybe taken just after sunset or just before dawn. And there, leaning against a tree, was Thea. Arms hanging at her sides. Hair wild. Her cap pulled so far down, her eyes were completely hidden in shadow. Just looking at it made me feel like throwing up. I sent the photo to the police immediately, but they haven't been able to do anything with it yet. I thought they had some technology where they can pinpoint the location of a cell phone. But either they haven't been able to do it, or they don't want to tell me yet what they've found. But there's one thing I haven't told the police. Tonight, I got one final text from her. After nearly 48 hours without Thea, after my fruitless search in the forest, after everything the police have done. This is all I have. One final text. 12:01 a.m. Thea, are you going to come find me? Smile. I think maybe it's time to return to the woods. You guys pointed out that going into the woods was a bad idea. You're absolutely right. When I wrote that, I'd had maybe 2 hours of sleep and about 5 cups of coffee. I wasn't thinking clearly. That text was a trap, set by whoever took Thea. I handed everything over to the police. Even the final text. They were able to find out what cell tower Thea's phone was pinging off of, but, unfortunately, the area encompassed most of the park. I organized a small search party to go around town and search. We also posted all over social media. Everything came up empty. Wednesday rolled around with no texts, no leads, no word from the police. And then Thursday. Each hour that went by without hearing anything, I got a little less hopeful. Several times I forced myself to look at those 3 photos she sent me, to look for clues. But they only made me feel sick. And then Friday happened. I'd started the day as usual. Checked in on the social media groups, looking to see if anyone found anything out. I made some coffee and was about to call the police to see if there were any updates. And then my phone rang. When I saw the caller ID, I couldn't believe it. Thea. I snatched the phone and immediately picked up. Thea? I asked, my heart pounding in my chest. Silence on the other line. Thea, tell me where you are. Please. Silence. If this is who took Thea, please. I'll do anything. Don't hurt her. I'll pay ransom. I'll do whatever you want. Just, please don't hurt her. No one spoke, but I did hear something now. A faint crackling sound. Static? The wind blowing through the speakers? Please, say something. My heart pounded. My legs shook. I glanced around the kitchen, my mind racing. Can't the police trace the call? Do they need to be on the line? Do I need to keep the call on for 60 seconds? I had no idea. Do you want money? I asked, my voice trembling as I opened my laptop. We don't have much, but I'll wire it all to you. Right now. Please, just give Thea back to me. I began placing a wireless call to 911. The crackling sound intensified. Please. The call dropped. I immediately told the police. Begged them to trace it, to do something. But they just gave me the same canned responses they had for the past several days. So I got in my car and drove. I didn't even know where I was going. But then I found myself pulling into the parking lot, staring at those same dark trees and winding trail. I was debating whether I should actually go in when I saw it. A plume of dark smoke, rising above the treetops. I jumped out of the car and ran into the forest hall while that horrible crackling sound played in my head. Thea, no. I climbed over rocks and sticks, following the acrid smell of smoke. Please, don't let it be. The fire stood in a small clearing, orange flames licking the air, black smoke billowing up to the sky. Thea's remains were found in the fire. God. Saying that. Her remains. How can you say that about someone you love so much? Such a crude, horrible thing to say. Thea. My wonderful Thea. Is gone. Since I got the news, I've been sitting in the kitchen, downing whiskey as I flipped through photos of us in our final days. A photo of us on the boardwalk, her grinning and holding a stuffed teddy bear, me standing stiffly beside her. I remember that trip, how annoyed I was that she wanted to play every game in 90-degree weather. What an idiot I'd been. Every minute with Thea was a gift. I flipped to another photo. A selfie of us on the couch. Her grinning as she held up the bowl of pasta we'd made from scratch. My thumb hit the screen as I started to flip to another photo. I stopped. Is that? In the photo, I could see our front windows behind the couch. I could see the neighbor's lights across the street, see a car rolling by on the road. And I could see something else. An irregular shadow. I zoomed in. The photo quality wasn't great, grainy swaths of blue and gray, but even so, I could see what it was. A figure. Crouched between our two bushes. Looking inside. I stared at the blurry shape, frozen. Then I flipped to the next photo. Thea and I sitting on the floor a week prior, playing with Giselle. And, zooming into the window, I saw that same awful shape. Crouched just outside the halo of our back porch light. The next one. The unknown assailant peeking in through an uncovered corner of our bedroom window. No. I flipped to the next photo. Oh God, no, no. Thea standing in the laundry room, balancing a basket on her head and sticking her tongue out at me. But behind her, inside the house, a sliver of darkness poking out from around the corner. Not a shadow, but someone standing there. Yip. I jumped a foot as Giselle let out a shrill yelp from the family room. I scrambled over to find her sitting in front of the window, staring into the darkness outside. Yip. Shaking madly, I stumbled over to the front door, clicked the deadbolt into place. Then I cupped my hands over the window and peered out. Nothing. I ran through the house, making sure every window, every door was locked. I closed the curtains, even slid the lock across the basement door. Then, knowing I was safe, I collapsed into the couch and began dialing the police. In a few minutes, they'll be here, and they'll know everything. They'll find the bastard that killed Thea, who has apparently been stalking us for months, and will make sure he gets the worst sentence he possibly can. Thea will get justice. It's finally over. Or has it just begun?